Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 416th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, January 20th, 2022. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond, and I'll be host today, along with Dean in the KF studio. And of course, we are welcoming Mr. Mehran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, who will once again be delivering another Knowledge Seekers workshop here today. Okay, Mr. Keshe, are you ready to begin? Can you hear me, Mr. Keshe? Okay, I'm not sure if he can hear me.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. Can you hear me? Yes.
Okay. We go in different channel. Good morning, good day to you. As usual, wherever and whenever you listen to the series of Knowledge Seekers of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, we welcome you to this series of Knowledge Seekers programs. And we hope we learn and we teach others more. As you have gathered, we are trying to progress to understand more about the cycle of changes and creation and how man has come to progress in different ways and different means of the intellectual and what I call the structure of the life. As we progress towards creating the flight system to be able to take man with a machine, or for man to understand more of totality, we come to one point. And if you understand this in what happens actually to us and is real to every single one of us, then we have to translate this knowledge into the systems we develop that we can match, we can copy. We saw the lightning creating fire. We went and we tried to understand how the fire starts, and we made tools to make fire. We understood how the energy of the atom is creating different conditions by radiation, and we went and created nuclear technology. Now we have to understand how what we all of us know, and we go through it more or less on a daily basis, every day, every 24 hours a day, in one form or another, in one shape or another. How can we replicate this in the technology and the systems that we make, that it works the same? That the fire we make is the same fire as it was made by light and the thunder. For us, as we develop the space technology, and we are moving away from moving matter state of the things into energy state of the things as a plasma, we have to be able to match and replicate the same. In a daily life, we dream. In our sleep, we dream. Physically, we are there. And our physicality, when we are present with our mother or father or a friend who have died and passed away or is away from us for years, we carry all the emotion and the knowledge we have with them in a state of dream. It's not just that we stand there physically. We remember every conversation we had when they were alive, when they were with us, and we carry all the emotion with it. We remember how the mother smiled. We remember how she laughed. We remember what it meant, the expression she uses in the sleep as she used when she was with us. So, transmutation of the man from one place to another has to carry the same. The body of the man in an enhancement unit, in a flight unit, if he chooses the path of the physicality, should carry all that emotion, should carry all that feeling and all that memory. When we transmute a body, person, object, we have to carry all the emotions of with it, not just the material state of it. And this is a part which now we need to understand before we get to the flight through enhancement units. Before we understand the transmutation and transportation in the new dimension. In few teachings before, I referred to the RNA of magnetic field, that it carries the memories of, that it carries where it has to go. One thing which the world of science has not managed to understand up to now, how does magnetic field in its state of plasma reduces in strength or increases in strength or divides. And the moment we have a discussion in the world of science, can the ray of light be bent? Can we bend it? And we look into the galaxies, we look into what we call universe, and we see, yes, the light can bend when it comes near an object or what we call a star or a galaxy. But has man knowledge reached the point to understand that we can not only bend the magnetic field, we can break it up, we can divide it, we can split the magnetic field, but there is a method to it. There's a technology for it. There is understanding and comprehension of every part of it that mankind have not understood up to now. This is where many parts of the world of science will break up in what we know up to now. And a lot of things will make a new sense. A lot of things becomes much easier to understand in the world of science and technology. And for us to be able to transmute man or object, we have to understand this. Otherwise, we just carry a bunch of energy without emotion, without feeling, without understanding the totality, without being able to interfere with the whole collection of what we call emotions man carries in the dimension of physicality and man carries in the dimension of the soul. We will run into massive problem because we will be only carrying the physicality, most probably because it has no emotion. The head will be on the foot and the foot will be on the head, and God knows everything else. Because we created the emotion out of the position of the physicality. We brought a new dimension into the world of science and technology. In science and technology of the creation, not of the man. We have to understand, we have to be able to comprehend the extent of the change that the new technology will bring us in the coming time, in a very, very short time. Man will go into a new ways of travel, transportation, new ways of communication, and new ways of understanding the totality. And it's the responsibility of the Keshe Foundation and the scientists who work with us and develop this technology with us to understand from now on, we just don't carry the voice down the telephone line, or we just don't carry the man as a physical body to another place. We have to carry both the voice, the emotion, and the man in the dimension of the plasma, not in the dimension of physicality. Otherwise, we'll be on the way for decades to come and centuries and thousands of years to go from one star to another. We've seen changing the body of the man in a certain Gs, 50 Gs, 100 Gs. What's going to happen? The body of the man tear apart. We have to transmute the structure of the body of the man into a dimension of the energy, plasmatic energy, with the information, with the emotion, and with the understanding of the all what is being gathered in that cell we call the soul of the man, or dimension of the plasma of the physicality of the man. We will, and wanting it or not, we have to understand this technology of the creation, understanding the method of the transmutation and transportation of the not only the plasma, but the emotion of the plasma. We create plasma by interaction of electrical fields today, and we see lights and we call them the plasma. That's the plasma in a matter condition. We create plasma in a field condition, which is created by the energy and the fields of the what we call magnetic field of every part, every cell, and every emotion. Remember, you made a mark, you burned the skin when you were young. You're in your 50s and you're in 80s, that burn mark is still there. But how many times in the cycle of your life your skin has changed? The layers of the skin has changed every 28 days. And still 50 years down the line, the mark is there. We have never analyzed why. If you are repairing, it should go away, it should not be there, because we did not handle the emotion of the burn when it was physically burned. If you go back, as we said some time ago, and it's in part of the teaching, when we took the condition of a burn to what we call air packs, what we have in the cars, when the hand of the man and the body of the man was burned by the impact, when we used the gases, which is a plasmatic energy, there were no sign of the burn. We missed the part. It was just a talk. The gases can do with a burn without any signs of it. Why? Go in more detail, just not to happen, that's it, we go. But how come if we get a burn from a match or whatever, we have it on our skin? Does this mean that with the technology of the plasma, we satisfy, we fulfill the emotion of the damage into our layers of the skin and in the soul of the man, in the memory part of the physical structure? Because it's the brain which structures that the cell to change. If it's not changed, it keeps it there. You touch fire, you burn. You remember why you burned. But the emotion of it is not handled. That's why we see the skin sign. But when we give the plasmatic energy to it, when we do it with understanding the new technology, there is no scar, because now we satisfied both the emotion and the physicality change. This is the part that many of you have done. You burn yourself in the house and you use gases. Oh, you went and there is no scar. Maybe for the first time you understand why. Because in a plasmatic condition, you haven't just fixed the soul of physicality. You sorted out the soul of the man in attraction, the soul of physicality in emotion, that I don't need this. I can repair it. I can satisfy myself with it. Now we need to understand this. In transportation and transmutation of the new flight system, we have to understand this. We have to be able to carry the emotion with the what we call plasma of the man, when man transmutes from one to another. And get it right when we get to the other place. On earth, I move you from New York to Tehran through the plasmatic emotion. I don't need to carry you with the physical dimension of aircraft system, because you understand the G forces. So I have to hold you, cuddle you like your mother in the system and deliver you the correct way. And if we choose to do the plasmatic way, I have to be able to deliver you that the emotion of your sight does not change to the emotion of your hearing and your hearing to your smell. I have to deliver everything that the eye sees, not hears, and the ear hears, not sees. It doesn't work. So it becomes to the point that the world of science, world of technology, has to understand the new change in the world of science, has to understand the next step in the dimension of transportation and transmutation in a plasmatic state. How do you see with the eye of the soul when you're in another position in the universe, where you've got the eye and the sound the other way around? This is the responsibility of new research and development to get this in that position. As we are going into the dimension of the flight, as we are going into the new understanding of the process of the creation, as we are developing technologies to be able to deliver the totality of the knowledge, we as knowledge seekers have to become fully aware of, not after testing and trialing and then they say, oh, we missed something in the knowledge. We missed something in understanding. We missed something in totality of the process of the creating our systems or developing our systems, which allows us to take into condition of flight. In these new systems, in these new understandings, as we see, we have no choice but to understand the process of the interaction of the fields. When we come to the point of these units, where it carries the emotion and the soul of the man to enhance, and then we embed these in the new systems of the flight, where do we go? How do we inherit? How do we correct these things? We are not talking about the future, this might happen. Already, flight systems have been built in China. These are the production lines coming off the line in coming days and weeks as we deliver around the world. This factory has been set up to meet the demand of the Keshe Foundation. These are the flight system, which now is going to be with you. It's become part of your life. It becomes part of the structure of the Keshe Foundation and work in space. How do we structure ourselves in these systems that when we arrive at a point of destination, we will and we become as one? We can deliver the totality. Sorry, the first 200 people, we never understood that the emotion has to be carried. We delivered a lump of energy from Tehran to New York. The emotion was left behind. This is part of our work. This is not the knowledge of just making systems, is to deliver technologies, to understand more of. And it's the responsibility of the knowledge seekers who are advanced and work in this part. Be it you're on the government side, be it you're on the independent side, even individually, you carry work in your garage. Because your garage most probably sometimes more advanced than the government laboratories because they haven't understood. They're just trying to copy with understanding the soul of the knowledge, the root of the knowledge. In this coming time, how do we place, how we get our systems built in this new flight system that we become and we deliver a totality of system. When we deliver 100 units a month, we have to get everything right. We have to bring new standards. We have to bring new dimensions. We have to start the delivery of the technology in a correct way from outset, from the onset of the first trials. How do we make these systems? How do we adopt these flight systems? This is not a talk anymore. This is the reality the world of the science, the Keshe Foundation, and other scientists around the world have to face. We have opened the Pandora box, and there is no way for it to close. There is no way for it to become separated from the rest of the present knowledge. There is a line, there is a borderline now in sticking to the past knowledge of the matter state or moving to the state of the plasma transformation, transportation, and transmutation. We have seen even today with, after 2 years of what we've seen with this plasma situation across the world, mutating and mutating, now the scientists find out we have nothing to match it because accidentally maybe we found something which did something with some of it, but we have not understood the root of the creation of the plasma, the interaction of the plasmatic fields. Even in the Keshe Foundation, knowledge seekers have become limited to understanding of a few things which was given hand-fed instead of adding-fed. What do we do? Where do we stand? How do we put 100 of these units a month in the next year across this planet when they just stand as a shell? Where the technology has not carried the understanding of the totality. I can develop to a certain extent that systems can be delivered, but how as a human race we are going to develop the next stage, the next step. When we launched the enhancement units originally, it was just what we call a health unit, a material unit, enhancing of whatever. But now we are in a flight system. We have to take a man and deliver a man in totality. What is the extent of the knowledge? How far we as a knowledge seekers have come not to be sentimental about the knowledge of the Keshe Foundation, but to understand the totality of the process of the what we call creation of fields, plasmas, division of them, creating conditions of them. If we go back to one of the very first reactors which we built in Tehran, one thing which the Iranian authorities and the scientists never understood was the true secret which sits within the structure of the Keshe Foundation systems, which sits within the what we call clarity of the information which was missed. In a way, we have to understand that the new technology to become part of the plasma technology needs the totality of the knowledge of the man. When we interact, when we deliver, when we bring in about the delivery of technologies like this, we have to understand every process of it. We have to understand how we create conditions for creation of the what we call energies, plasmas, opening them, closing them. How do we make a neutron and us decide the time of division and not leaving it to the hand of the what we call whatever it might be. When we look at this technology, when we see the enhancement of the 2 nuclear space reactors of Iran, we now understand there is more to the knowledge. Understanding to create nuclear division, understanding to create a plasmatic nuclear division is the key to be able to succeed, to use all the systems you see. When you look at this picture, you see the totality of the knowledge. You see the understanding of the totality of what man needs to know to be able to transport and transmute across the universe, across this planet, even in their own understanding of the knowledge and technology. This picture, from the day it was made, I said, when would mankind see that all the knowledge is needed is sitting on the table? Up to now, we waited for the nuclear division. We waited for the split of the neutron into electron and proton. This is the question I put to Professor Leslie in Queen Mary College. I said, your knowledge is not complete, sir, because you cannot dictate the time of the division. You're here sitting at the will of God. So you have not understood. And Professor Leslie told me, Mehran, you're too far ahead. You ask questions that we have answered. This is where it sits. This is where the knowledge is. This is where, after 40 years, 50 years, 40 years as a nuclear physicist, we have to answer. How can we control nuclear division? Not half-life, when it happens randomly in a few milliseconds, in a few hours, in a few days, in a few million years. I should be able to bring that million years into milliseconds and milliseconds to million years. The questions I put to you is not something new. It's taken me 50 years plus to find answers, to find solutions, to see the reason for it. And that division comes exactly the way when you carry the soul, when you create the division for the soul of physicality to separate and then create the totality of an atom of physicality of the man. To you is a sentence in past few minutes. To me has been a question of developing for 50 years. As a nuclear physicist, as one of the leading plasma physicists in the world, to understand how we can change the plasma. We control the plasma change, not the destiny of time and the environment. This is why in Fukushima we could interfere. Even the American scientists who took on the stole and the Japanese who made billions out of it never understood it, just watched me do it. If we understand that division, if we can control that, when we can bring what we call interatomic fusion, the electron within the proton and make one neutron, and then decide when we divide that neutron to another electron and proton, but be exactly the same. To be able to compensate for the losses of the separation and addition of the fields in cohesion of the totality. This has been the biggest question. This is one of the questions that the world of nuclear has never had answered. The scientists in the world of cosmology have no answer and they just jump it. We cannot jump it anymore. We have to understand it because we are faced with it. It's on the screen. How can I create the division, transportation as one unit, as one neutron, compensate for the losses of the environment of it, and then be able to bring it back together? Go back to book 1, where we show the principle, fundamental plasma. When it divides to an electron and a proton, it releases some energy. So when you want to put that electron back with the proton, you have to compensate for those losses, but exactly the same. That the environment doesn't take it, but you understand the changes. You understand the dissipation of the field. You can compensate for it, that you go back to the original neutron, not a neutron which already lost some part when it was divided. I cannot take you from London to New York, and sorry, when we get to New York, we lost some energy on transformation and separating, we lost the leg. We go and find the energy that we can put the leg back. This is one of the first things that it came to me at the age of 8 or 9 when I sat on the bottom end of the X-ray machine in Tehran. If it comes in me and it goes through me, how much of me is added and how much of me is taken? And it took me 30 years to find the answer. And you're taught in one lesson to even think about what you couldn't think. We have to find, we have to understand that when we transmute the soul or totality of the man as an energy, we have to bring the information, the emotion, and totality of it back in any position in the universe or on this planet in one form. For you to travel with the speed of light, which passes the matter speed in the dimension of physicality, you have to understand how to add the energy to pass the point of speed of light in the dimension of universal light, which we have not understood yet. The light you see in the stars, sky of the man, is exactly when it's produced there and then and what you see. Not 1,000,000,000 years on the way. Never heard such a nonsense in the world of the science. Once we understand this, we can be at the star instantaneously. We can be part of it. If we can compensate or increase the fields of the plasma of the man to the strength of the point and the position of that star, we shall be there instantaneously. How long does it take to get a magnet, which is the same, to pull together? We have not understood the magnification of the plasmatic fields. We have not understood the vision of the magnetic fields of the plasma. And we are still, in Farsi, we say we are still, we're still stuck in the bend of the street. We haven't understood where the street goes to. We still got the problem, can we bend the light? And how come sometimes light bends? Is it an energy? Is it a photon? Is it part of the totality? Why some of the light bends? And then if you can bend it, you can divide it. Plasmatic radiation and division of plasmatic radiation is the next step of the teaching for the world scientists to understand. How do we create plasmatic radiation? Be it in alpha. Alpha is still, we call it, is the energy of whatever. But in fact, it's a plasma. It has a field strength. It has a dimension and it has a volume. So if you understand this, we can create alpha radiation as much as we like anywhere in the universe. It's not just what is in your smoke detector sticking on top of your ceiling. Understanding the change in the plasma is the key, is the next step for evolution of the science of the matter. And from now on, we try to open this door that is understood by those knowledge seekers in universities, in institutes, in nuclear centers, to understand there is a new way. And then with it, we literally put a nail in a coffin of nuclear industry. Do I need to create a division, to create heat, to build these massive nuclear reactors? To do what? To boil some water, to get some energy, to change in electricity, where I can create a diversion and the division of the cell of a plasma and get the energy I want there and then. What is this all hullabaloo going on? Where have we missed the science of the creation? As a nuclear physicist, I set out 40 years ago, for 50 years ago, to understand this. And now the answer is simple. We missed the truth about the fields, the magnetic fields, the RNA of the fields, the division of these fields by emotion of the fields and not by accidental condition of the fields. When you sit under an X-ray machine, have you ever asked yourself, where does this field come from? How do Phillips and Siemens and the other people create replication of exactly the same fields all the time for the bone so much, for this so much, for liver so much, and then we go into MRIs and the rest of it. But we haven't understood how we do it, how it's done in the creation. We become monkeys, just copying. When you create X-rays in the X-ray machines, how does it work? And can we replicate this in our nuclear reactors? Can we replicate this in our plasma systems? That we create a condition of creating magnetic fields, plasma radiation. Then we have broken into a small part of the knowledge of the creation. When a beam hits surface and creates so much field that it always gives X-ray or always gives gamma ray, isn't this the same as we have a sun and we have an earth, and then the interaction of them creates plasma fields, that the interaction with the field of the earth's inertia becomes a matter state or becomes part of something else? What have we missed? What have we missed in the knowledge? That we understand it in one part, but we miss it in the other part. Many of your knowledge seekers will be lost with the teachings of today and coming up. But these teachings are targeted at the nuclear physicists who are in the background, they listen. This is targeted at the plasma physicists who listen to these teachings continuously. Is targeted at the elite scientists who bring the change in the world of science. As I said, many people listen, and the knowledge seekers at the front are just what we call educated in the technology of the Keshe Foundation on what it is. Scientists in laboratories around the world, when they listen, they understand. Nuclear physicists who listen, understand where our dilemma is. Space technology has changed. We have, as a nuclear physicist, to understand the totality of the creation of the neutron. And with the knowledge we have, we become the creator of that neutron. And with the knowledge we have today in the plasma technology with the Keshe Foundation, we should be able to decide the division of that neutron to electron and a proton. And can we understand enough that we create 2 electrons and 1 proton? Doesn't this happen in the womb of the mother? We get identical twins. What have we missed in the knowledge of the man? What have we missed in the knowledge of nuclear technology, in the advancement of the plasma physics and in cosmology? Or do we need to make nuclear physicists out of cosmologists that they maybe see the coherent interaction of the fields and the division of the fields? From today, we know and we have to understand how to make magnetic fields to divide. Magnetic fields to increase their energy, magnetic fields to absorb more energy, to become stronger. We have to understand the process of the creation of the plasma what we call the neutron, what we call the fundamental element. If we don't understand the fundamental element plasma of the creation, what are we doing here? Back to the cave, rub a few sticks, and you make fire. The understanding of the process of the flight, especially in these new systems, which is on the screen, is sacrosanct in understanding the process of the division of the plasmatic field's radiation. And our friends in CERN are still playing with twigs. Even they don't know how to hold the twig because they don't know what to do with it. Our friends in nuclear center research centers around the world, as a nuclear physicist, you have to change your process. You have to understand we can create nuclear radiation at any level we like without harming or being absorbed by anything else to create nuclear damage. If our scientists understood when we used the gases, when we saw the lady going to Japan and using the Japanese nuclear test centers on the street to show what is radiated or not, we should have understood we have changed the game. The Fukushima test done by Ikoko in Tokyo, in Fukushima, gave a lot of knowledge. But as you're not the man of nuclear, you could not understand what it meant. We absorb the energy. But what happens when we absorb that energy? What divisions within the cells of the plasma of the material which absorbed it creates? Does it split that plasma into more plasmas, or does it create a more energetic that can become something else? The secret of the knowledge of the Keshe Foundation in the space-time plasma technology was shown in Fukushima years ago. But as you're not nuclear physicists, as you don't understand the plasma physics, we've done something with Fukushima. But we never understood the knowledge and the technology behind it. When I saw live what was happening in Fukushima, as Ikoko was showing the absorption and reduction, I was ticking boxes. 40 years of work, correct. Thus can be division, correct. Can be creating other fields, correct. And then step by step allowed us to add to the knowledge and to put in confirming the theories and the practicality of all what was in the patterns. In next few months, as we develop the technology, as you have seen these machines become a flying machines in your back garden, in your cities, we have to have the scientists who understand it. We do not create captains to understand which button to press and a manual if something goes wrong, do this and that. The knowledge, the manual, the understanding of the technology has to be in the soul of understanding of the technology by the captain, not on a piece of paper. We have no papers in the universe. Sorry, we are on planet Zeus, and what is written as paper here structurally, plasmatically cannot exist. There is nothing. No message in a bottle. But we need to understand it to get to the next phase. We need to understand it to be able even to understand the situation with the plasma conditions we have that has paralyzed the economy of the world today. We ran out of the magic of the first injection, second injection, third injection, and now we see the scientists, they tell us the fourth injection has no effect. Report coming out of, as I've been seeing from Israel, the new fourth cycle has no effect on. We ran out of luck because we didn't carry the or comprehended the totality, the structure of the virus. And if you're knowledge seekers and you read the paper about the plasma, what we call the virus and bacteria and the other, you already knew more than the scientists and the heads of the nations know today. We have to. We have no choice. And other scientists in the background work to bring this process forward. We have to understand the process of the creation of the plasma as a fundamental plasma, how we become the creator of it, not is there. How we become the creator of the condition of the splitting of it into a proton and electron. And then this is what we call the soul of the man and the physicality of the man. And with it, bringing the totality of the physicality of the man as the two souls interact. And then being able to get the electron back in the proton and make that fundamental plasma exactly the way it was before it split. Sorry, you can't see with one eye. We left part of the plasma at the division point. This is the evolution in science. We are not a cult. We are scientists who understand the process of the creation. And with what we understand, we have to set up structures, systems, technologies, knowledge structure that can deliver the knowledge of the creation of the process of fundamental plasma. After 20 years, after 15 years of the Keshe Foundation, now we go back to the first chapter of the first book because you read it. Now you have to make it. Up to now was on the book. Now is in the system to flight. And the most fundamental point for all of you is, if the system creates such a plasma, how many of you are the electrons which going in to the plasma of the proton of the system? Protected. And at the point of delivery, we can let you out as you were. Now you understand the gravity and the extent of the knowledge which man needs to gather in the next few months. It's not just making a reactor. It's not just creating a flight condition. It's creating a plasma that can hold to the fundamental structure of the creation in the universe, irrespective of the place, time, and position. Now, as knowledge seekers in nuclear centers, as knowledge seekers in space systems, in China, in the United States, in Iran, and the rest. Forget about your rocket technology, forget your whatever you made, trying to understand the transmutation through the plasma. This is the time to bring the cosmologists, nuclear physicists, plasma physicists, and the space people together, and as one group, as a one team of understanding, create the flight machine, the life support machines of the future. These new flight systems I already have designed it. It's for you to understand that. It's not just screwing a bottle, welding something or whatever. You have to look beyond it. The biggest problem for you knowledge seekers and the future space technology is not anymore literally what you see as a reactor. Your problems sits when you created these fields, when you created these conditions of the flight, when you close these doors, what fields are created inside? The fields inside are the neutrons. The man walking in it is that proton, which changes to the fundamental principle of the energy transfer of the plasma. You remember in the teachings in the past, many times, many times I refer to the point that a banana is a banana as a matter state as long as it's in your hand. Once it goes in your mouth, due to plasmatic fields of your mouth, now it's in a new condition. It's in a new plasma state and it's not in the matter state. That mouth is the door which you see in front of you on the screen into the system. And we have to understand this process. How now, by closing this door, we don't just close the doors of a space system, but how would other systems sitting next to you, they interact with each other? Because the fields are not just only inside the system. The fields being built, the system between the walls, are outside too. How much of it we can control? How can we stop these systems to bang against each other even in the first flight? How do we create the protection for these systems that while you're holding what I call the baby of the souls inside, you can protect the system from outside and integrate a system that while it's creating the plasma of a fundamental structure, can add to itself that it can hold its integrity as a whole. The womb of the mother, the skin of the mother, and the environment outside the mother skin, and the womb inside, and the environment where the child is grown. This is what we are. We are in a position, and we have to understand this. Otherwise, these flight systems are nothing but cascades. Cascades we make and we leave it there. One day somebody will understand. It's the responsibility of the knowledge seekers who understand this. Especially, I speak directly to the Chinese aerospace space people, directly to the American space scientists who work in the nuclear industry and into the plasma fields. You will not succeed. As we saw in China, they invite us and they said, can you give us the fuel composition that we can just fly? I can give you the fuel composition, but you don't understand what's the next step. Flight is not the only object, because once you fly with a plasmatic condition, you become part of a new field within it. And a nuclear physicist, especially a space physicist, in a plasma field have not understood this. It's a job of scientists to to the layman that understands. Layman is not the one who is happened to be on the street. It's the nuclear physicist, it's the plasma physicist, it's the cosmologists, all the what we call aerospace people on this planet. They are the lay people. They have not understood, and they need to be enlightened. They need to be taught for them to see to the next step. When we put people in these structures, when we put people in understanding of the work of these systems, we need to understand the totality of their structure. We need to understand what this structure brings us, what would affect us, what will bring the changes which we will see in the coming time. Once we install the systems, once we bring these systems into operation and fit them with what we call the latest space technologies, a lot of things will change. With systems, once the whole structure is fitted in, the man is not the man anymore. It's the plasma of the man. Is the what we call the structure of understanding of the totality. This will bring a lot of dimensions to us. It is not anymore banana. And how can we, as knowledge seekers, bring the whole understanding of the flight with a plasmatic condition? Then we will see the man will change. The man will not be the same. The man will have to be, to understand, to be part of a new technology, new understanding, new composition of order of fields, new way to be able to transmute, transport, to be able to understand the totality of the knowledge. And then we have to see how much of this we have understood and how much of it we can replicate. Maybe today's teaching open your eyes, especially those of you who work on the edge of technology, to understand this. We have to become the creator of that fundamental plasma. We have to become the controller of that fundamental plasma. How to be able to split it and how to be able to bring it to create a new condition that allows us as a scientist, as what we call understanding of new technology, to be able to deliver a comprehensive system that carries the emotion, carries the what we call the fields of creation, and carries the physicality of the man in both RNA and DNA. And this will be a major breakthrough for a lot of you. And this will bring you the understanding of the totality of the knowledge of the creation. If you can understand this, and if you can take it to the next step, then you have gone one step further in the whole process of the creation of transmutation and transportation. And maybe we enter a new dimension. Maybe we come into the position to understand the creation of fundamental plasma. Maybe then we should be able to replicate the creation of fundamental plasma. Then maybe we can reach the point to understand the creation of the totality of the creation. Then would be a place for theology, and would it be a place for what I call understanding of the creation. Would we, as a new race of man, for the first time understand partially more of the total structure of the knowledge of the creation. Fundamentally, we can say one thing. And that is, this machine, as we see it, is another craft, is another man-made craft with a physical dimension of entrapment of the physicality. Once we embed into it the plasmatic systems, the creation of the fields of the plasma, of the creation within the walls of the system, this craft is a universal flight system. In a way, it can travel the depth of the universe. That's what is called the universal system. And it can deliver man at any point in the universe. It's the totality of the understanding of the knowledge of the man who has to go and become beyond the extent of the knowledge of today. How would mankind fly with this machine without the plasmatic system inside it? And how man will fly with these systems with a plasmatic system inside it? How we will come in touch to see the grandmother or the mother with a full emotional understanding, with a full comprehension of existence in the dimension of the magnetic field of the universe, and us in the dimension of the fields of the plasma as part of that magnetic. The connection for us to see the mother is a connection of the fields which we established as a division of the cells of the energy of the mother with us. The fundamental plasma is the mother, and the child is that division of the fields and the strength in the fields. We have not even managed to understand that in the dimension of the plasma. How does the energy divide in a plasmatic condition? In the field of strength, not in the plasma strength. It's not cutting the plasma anymore. It's splitting and keeping the same the fields of the plasma. The fields which make that plasma, and at the same time keeping the fundamental principle of the plasma and all its information within it. Where do we go with what we have in our hand today? What is the position of us now that we have come to realize that the science of the man has opened itself to a new dimension of the understanding, where the fundamental plasma can divide in two, and then in any proportion it can come back to a new plasma, or it can return back and keep and create the first and the same fundamental plasma, where this, by its inherent condition of the fields of the environment, will create what we call frictions and a small release to its environment. How can we go back directly to this and not to this? This is the dilemma for you as a knowledge seeker, as a nuclear physicist. This is the question which I asked years ago from our senior scientist in nuclear industry, and nobody had answered. Now, as a simple knowledge seeker, you have the answer, you have the technology, you have the knowledge to be able to create this. understanding of the totality, understanding the truth about the division of the fields is what mankind will come to understand is the key to the world of new science, is the key to the new world of understanding of the technology. This is where we become a scientific organization and not a cult. Even though up to now you spoke about the soul, but the soul to a nuclear physicist, a plasma physicist like me, is in fact a neutron. I can give it any name you like. The soul. Make it to become the soul of physicality and the physicality of the man. A proton, an electron, or anything else you like to call it. I can paint it the way it suits your eyes, but it does not change the fact about the knowledge of the creation. And then at the same time, this will be divided into others and to the others and to the others and the rest of it. Where this fundamental plasma in the process of its division and condition and in the process of interactions with the fields which it created itself will create new plasmas, new conditions, new what we call divisions, that the interaction of these fields now creates a new plasma. Wouldn't that be the soul of the creator? And this, the soul of the man, which in fact it came from the beginning. I made man in the image of myself, because it comes from the process of division of the fields of me. And I don't need to divide myself, as at this point I can release part of me, that it becomes part of this division. And I can interact anywhere, at any position, with anything. Then you understand some of the names given to the Creator in Quran, part of the 99 names of Him. And if you understand all, when you read Quran, you understand the 100, which is this, the 100. Understanding is omnipotent. His understanding every others, because he radiates the same. It depends where you interact with him. He doesn't decide this part of the plasma of the universe will receive less and the other. He radiates the same, like a sun. It's you and the fields which turn and toss and create the winter and the summer, the black and white skin and everything else. But in truth, the fields of energy of the Creator radiates amongst all of us. And if you understand this, in this fundamental system of lights, we create that embodiment. How closer you want to go back and how you want to understand the process of creation, even while you are within the system. As you see, the totality of the fields, I create a new field condition. This is why, if you understood, I always said, I can give you a fish. I can give you a man in a pool, if you remember. Because I have the knowledge to be able to create the fields of the universe within the water. Then, as I change the fields with the strength of the field of the emotion of the soul, I create a man or the beast or the fish. One drop. That drop is the energy fields of the creation, which to my knowledge is easy to make, to use in magic. Now you understand more about the totality of the knowledge of the plasma technology. Now you understand the fundamental questions which I have put across the scientific world and professors and lecturers in the life, in universities and colleges, and nobody could answer. And you as a layman, as knowledge seekers of Keshe Foundation, can see and understand more than professors and the doctors and the PhDs at this moment of time on this planet. This is the truth once you understand the process of the creation. How do I make that fundamental plasma? I call it a neutron, I call it a soul, I call it the essential source to create that condition with love, with care, with respecting life. And then you understand the biggest question in the world of science and technology today. Have the knowledge seekers understood enough to be able to create the fundamental plasma and then to be able to divide the fields of the plasma, which up to now is unheard of? Or can you strengthen the field of the plasma that it leads to a higher strength to go more into the center of the plasma? Or can you find a way by not division, but by giving, that you can go further? That with this further point, at one point and another, will bring you to the point of the creation. I made man in the image of myself. And I gave man the rights to understand the knowledge of the creation. It's for man to understand the totality. And this is the point of manifestation of Mitra. For man to understand, to go back to and come from, and be part of the totality and understand the truth about the knowledge of the creation. The soul of the man and the soul of the physicality of the man. I hope today you understood more. And I hope today, with a lot of scribbles on the board, you understood where you came from, where you come from, and how you can become the creator of the next cycle in the proportion of understanding of your knowledge. It's not just creating the children of the man. It's creating the children of the soul of the man, which becomes the knowledge of the creation and the creator. And that's what we call the Mitra. Understanding the process that the knowledge of the creation and the creator comes back to become the creation and the creator itself. Thank you very much for allowing to share the knowledge and at the same time understanding the totality. We go through a break and come back and answer any questions that you might have. Thank you very much, Rick.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Okay, we'll take a break here for a few minutes and be back shortly.